In October 17, I came into hospital for an operation to have a stoma. That was the result of an abscess which had been growing on my colon over a period of 12 months prior to that. On the 14th of February, I came back in for a straightforward reversal of the stoma.
It was so joyful coming in, even though we were told about the risks beforehand. So I'm not saying we weren't, but we had this much joy. So then as soon as he had the reversal, he just started going downhill and nobody seemed to know why.
I was aware that I was deteriorating gradually because my tummy and abdomen were swelling up abnormally.
The doctors were reassuring us all the time that they were convinced the operation was fine and everything was going the right way. But I mean, Bill was expanding, if you like. His legs, his tummy, his hands, everything was swelling. He just looked like a different person.
And I remember feeling really uncomfortable, and I didn't realise how poorly I was, but the nurses did.
The nurses had so much to do with getting the doctors really involved, saying, don't be saying he's okay, because we see him all the time and we know he's not. So they were amazing, their input and the way they were so adamant that the doctors looked further. When I got called to the ward and Bill was taken to theatre, I thought they were going to do an operation then. I found out later on that he was actually in a side ward because he was too ill to actually go into theatre. They had to do the paddles on him because his blood pressure went down, his heart rate was erratic and was up. He got septic shock. I found this out through the diary on the ICU. So, I mean, it was really scary for me because that's where a little bit of communication broke down. And then when they brought him up here, he had an open wound. So his muscles was open and his wound was open.
Well, the first part of my recovery was going into ICU, where I was on a ventilator for several days. So I was out of the situation. I was unaware of what was happening because I was heavily sedated.
And a doctor came to me and said, we might have to take Bill back down to theatre tonight because we think he's perforated his bowel. And we weren't able to do very much because he was so poorly. So all we've done basically is opened him up, had a little look, tried to do a bit of a clean out.
Ultimately, I had to undergo emergency laparotomies, several, and as a result of that, I ended up with a new stoma.
So the original stoma site was closed and they put another stoma in. And I had to tell Bill that he had another stoma, sorry.
Once I came off the ventilator, I was aware of what was happening around me, and part of the process was having my wounds dressed daily, the stoma attended to daily before I could deal with these things myself. So I was under constant surveillance from the nurses on the ward. I can't be other than generous with my praise for the care I received, both before and after the emergency operations. The knowledge, their care and attention. It's hard to say it gave me a feel-good factor, but I did feel good about the attention and care I was receiving.
When you have a stoma, it sort of fits flush with your body. Bill's isn't. Bill's comes up like a two-headed snake, if you like, and protrudes out. Because it was such an emergency, they had to do a temporary one. So something has to be done in the future. He either has to have the reversal or he has to have the stoma corrected because he's got a hernia and the stoma itself sticking out of it. Now that's dreadful for Bill day to day. You know, I mean, it stops him wanting to go out. So it's still not over yet. And it's with trepidation from my point of view, that I see what's going to happen.